All right, friends, we are on our way. The place where Abraham Lincoln grew up, right here in southern Indiana, and we're going there. So not only are we going to the place where Abraham Lincoln grew up, but we are also headed towards the area where his foundation was laid. And later, I'm going to tell you about his first court case that he won. It's really, really interesting about how he won it and what the case was about. So stay tuned. So I decided to come to Lincoln National Memorial first because this is the place where you can come and you can see actually where Nancy Hanks is buried, and there's a living farm here that is a replica of Abraham Lincoln's farm where he grew up. Now, as you can see behind me in the murals, he was in Kentucky first, that's where he was born, but whenever he was age 7, he came over here to Indiana. And he was in Indiana for 14 years before he moved to Illinois and then on to Washington. Now, I don't know if you've caught that, but from age 7 to age 14, he lived here in Indiana. Now, if you think about what happens when you are 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's whenever you start to become a person. And that is when you start to learn who you are. And so I believe that at age 14, he already knew who he was. And that is because of the values that he learned here on this soil. And I am so grateful to have this in my backyard. So there are two sides to the memorial building. The first side is Lincoln Hall. And here in Lincoln Hall, they have a meeting house set up where they have these benches, church pews, the few more seating. So you can see. Let's go check out the other side. Now on this side of the museum, you can see all kinds of exhibits, but that's not what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the other room, the Nancy Hanks Lincoln Hall. Oh, there's also an auditorium here that features my friend, Matthew Herman. Shout out to you, Matthew. He portrays Lincoln. Oh, there's a lot of people in Nancy Hanks Hall. Oh, because this is a national memorial, there's a post office here too. Now, in addition to the museum things that they have here, they also have a really cool gift shop that has Lincoln-themed merchandise and national park stuff. So you can get all kinds of stuff, like they have this passport to the national parks. So you have all those national park stuff, because this is a national memorial right here in southern Indiana. Get yourself a walking stick and all kinds of Lincoln merchandise. Oh look, there's even a Lincoln Lego guy. All right, so that is a great place to hang out and enjoy, but that's not all that there is here at the National Memorial. Let's go check out the rest of what this place has to offer. So a really fun fact is that this here where I'm standing used to be the middle of the road. This was the middle of the highway. And you would go from over there to over there on the main highway. And this was all that there was to Lincoln Memorial. It wasn't even a national memorial at that point. It was just a marker on the side of the road right here. This was the middle of the road. They put that in and people would drive right by. Now you may think that Abraham Lincoln's mother wasn't all that important to him. After all, she died when he was such a young boy. But Lincoln is often quoted as saying, "All I am or ever hope to be, I owe to my angel mother." And he was talking about Nancy Hanks Lincoln. He loved his mother very, very dearly. So I have one more trail to take you on, which is a really neat trail before we go over to the state park side. And don't let me forget, this is more of a reminder for me than it is for you, but I have a story to tell you about Abraham Lincoln's first court case. Don't let me forget. Hi there, this is Andy from the editing room, and yeah, I forgot to hit record on my microphone during this part, so I'm gonna do a voiceover. So the Lincoln Farm is just 300 yards from where we are, and that was 600 yards from where we've been at the Visitors Center. I think it's really fitting that there's railroad tracks in this park because of how interesting the railroad was during Abraham Lincoln's time. And so I just think that it's really cool that there's railroad tracks in this park. I had a lot of really interesting things to say during this part, and I don't remember what they all were, but one of the most interesting things that I had to say was how special it is that we are able to walk right here where Abraham Lincoln once walked. It just takes my breath away that we were able to be here where Abraham Lincoln was. Now, Thomas Lincoln wasn't a farmer. This is Thomas Lincoln's farm. He was not much of a farmer. He was much more of a carpenter. And I will show you that. Oh, real quick, this here is actually whenever they excavated the land, they found the foundation of what they believe was Abraham Lincoln's cabin. Tom Lincoln's cabin that he first built. So they bronzed this foundation of Tom Lincoln's cabin. So that's really cool to take a look at while you're here. This cabin is just a few yards from the bronzed cabin. There is the woodworking lathe. Thomas Lincoln worked in this on this lathe, and you can see where the rope would spin the spindle so that you could work on it, and it's attached to the roof up there, and you operate it with a pedal down below. As you push the pedal, the piece spins in there. Oh, look, chickens! Now, funny thing is that a few years ago, the chickens actually were escape artists, and they kept getting out, so they had to add a bunch of wooden slats here so that they couldn't get out. It makes it harder to see the chickens, but you can look through the slats and still see these really, really fun chickens. They have other animals at this farm too. They have a cow, and they have some sheep. And oh, be nice to each other, chickens. Be nice. You guys need to be nice to each other too. Everybody be nice. Oh, there's the cow. I don't know if you can see him. He's in the little lean-to, just to the left of the barn. Here, I'm going to move the camera. And you can see, there he is, right by that pole, back there in the back in that lean-to. You can see him moving his horns back there. One of the really cool things about this is that they did gardening the way that they gardened back in the 1800s. And you can see back there the stakes that are there. I guess those are for tomatoes or maybe squash. But Abraham Lincoln did a lot of the split rail work that you see. He didn't do this split rail work because, the wood is old, and so he wouldn't have done that. But, I mean, it's just so cool that all of these pieces are put together. I just came over to say hello to the cow again. All of these pieces are put together without nails and without modern hardware. Let's go over to the cabin, go up into the cabin here, and see that this cabin is actually from Thomas Lincoln's second wife. It's modeled after that one. And you know how we know that it's modeled after Abraham Lincoln's second wife and not his first one? There are a couple clues. First of all, this cabin has white walls and it has wooden floors. Another thing that it has is it has a window. The first cabin didn't have windows with shutters. It didn't have glass, and it didn't have a wooden floor. And I don't believe it had a white wall either. I think it was all natural. Now you can see that cabinet in the corner there. That was made by Thomas Lincoln, or it's modeled after the one made by Thomas Lincoln. There are stairs there that go up to the upstairs part. This is that cabinet that is modeled after one like Thomas Lincoln would have made. This may actually be one that Thomas Lincoln made. I'm not sure. I just think it would be so neat to live in a time like this. Oh, look at those table legs. See those table legs? Those table legs they were made on a lathe like what we saw in the carpenter shop. But it would just be so cool to live in this lifestyle for a few days. Just for a few days, not for every day. One thing that they do at this farm, they didn't do it this year, but they've done it in years past, is that they have gone out into the smokehouse and actually had a traditional smoked meat out there. Well, the meat actually grows mold on it, and that helps preserve the meat. It's pretty cool and pretty gross at the same time. Oh, look, loofahs. These loofahs are made from gourds, and so they actually had a spa treatment on the pioneer days. Isn't that pretty cool? So there's the smokehouse there that I was talking about. And there is a person there that actually is working on, he is scooping out a piece of wood where they will char it and make it into lye soap later. And take a look. There are the sheep. Oh, it's so cool to be here. So this trail that we're on is called the Trail of the 12 Stones. Now, These stones are stones that are they were part of Lincoln's life. And I always start on this side, which is the farm side of the Trail of 12 Stones. And I head back to the visitor center following this trail. Let me show you this. This is the second stone in the Trail of 12 Stones. And this stone was actually the whole memorial once upon a time. This stone right here was all that there was that marked where Abraham Lincoln lived. Then in 1934, they made it even better. Some of these stones on the Trail of 12 Stones are a little bit hokey, I will admit that. Some of them make you think, what? None of these trails on this side of the park are very hard to navigate. None of them are very strenuous by any stretch of the imagination. There's no steep grades. There is a mild hill. I will tell you, there's a mild hill, so if you do have trouble walking a little bit and you can't walk half a mile uphill, this is it. This is the hill, folks, right here. It's not bad. My favorite stone on this trail is the one that is taken from Gettysburg. They actually took a stone from Gettysburg, relocated it here, and it is part of this trail, which is a really neat piece of history to have here as far as the historical significance of that particular stone. I mean, it was a rock in a field. It wasn't the stone that Abraham Lincoln stood on. It was a rock that was in the field of Gettysburg, and it just makes you realize his impact during the Civil War, makes you think about his impact. Also, if you are here during the summertime, any point in time during the summertime, there's a really good chance that you will come across a black rat snake. Whoop. Where are you guys going? Hi. There's a really good chance in the summer that you will come across a black rat snake. And yours truly doesn't like them. But if you see a black rat snake, it's not going to hurt you. Chances are most of the snakes that are here are not going to hurt you at all. They would rather run away from you than hurt you. So please just leave them alone. Let them be. And don't freak out. Easier said than done. I freak out when I see snakes. Not gonna lie. No judgments. Now, the National Memorial is literally across the street from the state park. You can walk from the National Memorial to the state park. We are going to continue our journey, though. We are going to go check out some of the other cool amenities that are here. Here at Lincoln State Park, they have a beautiful lake. You can see that there are lots of people enjoying their time here on the beach. The campground here is picturesque. I feel like this campground is spaced out as any other campground. And I think that there's still lots of shade here at this campground. Ooh, we're gonna come right down here to the lake. You can see how many people are over there at the beach. I believe I'm gonna turn you just a little bit so you can see the beach. You can see just how many people are over on the beach. And yes, they have a boat rental. You can rent paddle boats, you can rent canoes, you can rent kayaks. Lake Lincoln is a wonderful place to fish and to hike. Now, if camping isn't your style, but you do want to come and rough it just a little bit, they do have cabins as well. Now, the cabins are not air conditioned, to my knowledge. There's a nature center here. You can learn about snakes, bats, and the other wildlife that's around. That's not as scary. Although, to me, bats aren't scary. Snakes are definitely scary to me. Bats, not so much. All right, so I'm parked up here at the state park, and I'm gonna tell you what you've been waiting for about how Abraham Lincoln won his first court case. So, here's the deal. This place here is down by the Ohio River. And the Ohio River once was a really, really big thoroughfare. It was like the freeway of freeways to get from the Mississippi down to the East Coast. So things that came from Chicago, things that came, from the northern lakes, those Great Lakes, those people that were all around there came down the Mississippi, then they took a left on the Ohio. And there was a lot of traffic there. So what happened was, there were people that needed to ferry across the Ohio River. And there were some companies that ferried people across the Ohio River. There was a couple of brothers who always ferried. They had like the rights, the licensing, the deed, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what the proper term is, but they had the rights to ferry people across the Ohio River from one side to the other. Well, Abraham wanted to make some money, so he was ferrying people from the Ohio River to the steamboats. From the banks of the Ohio River to the steamboats. He was ferrying people back and forth from the steamboats to the banks, from the banks to the steamboats to the banks. He was doing that over and over again. These brothers did not like that because Mr. Lincoln was cutting into their profits. Well, so they sued him. They said, you can't do that. We have the rights to ferry people across the river. You don't have the rights to ferry people across the river, so you cannot do that, Mr. Lincoln. You want to know how he won? Here's how he won his case. This is so good. He said, I'm not ferrying them across the Ohio River. I am ferrying them from the banks to the middle of the Ohio River where the steamboats are. You own the rights to ferry them across the Ohio. I'm not doing that. I'm ferrying them from the banks to the middle where the steamships are. Genius. Abraham Lincoln was a genius. I tell you what, this place, it's inspiring. This place fills me with joy. This is a great place to be, and I hope that you come and check it out. And until the next video, stay happy, friends.